Golden Blue Dude here with you again. If you haven't already, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button right now. Do it. If you're a college football fan, especially. Also do college basketball, but that's later on in the year. Now, spoiler, if you're not a West Virginia fan, go ahead and skip over this video, okay? This is a West Virginia fan. I'll get back to y'all, but this one is for West Virginia fans, okay? So here we go. West Virginia kicks off the season at home against FCS Eastern Kentucky. Let me tell you something, folks. This is not going to be like James Madison last year. Number one, James Madison is way better than Eastern Kentucky, all right? Because I know we're all having nightmares because they were FCS. But James Madison is a perennial powerhouse. So, deep breath, relax. Not going to be the same, okay? So, last year, Eastern Kentucky went 7-5. They actually have a new head coach this year, Walt Wells. Now, here's a funny historic fact. Between 1985 and 1992, Eastern Kentucky actually contended with Marshall for FCS championships. Now, we all know Marshall moved up and they're in Conference USA. But the funny thing is, Eastern Kentucky's first game is against Marshall, who they played last year, who they almost beat. I don't think that'll happen. I don't think it'll be that close this year. But I just think that's pretty cool, actually. So West Virginia will actually be Eastern Kentucky's second opponent. So they do have a new head coach, like I said, Walt Wells, and he comes out of the same stable of coaches as Mark Stoops. He's at Kentucky. Will Muschamp, he's at South Carolina, and Butch Jones. He's an assistant at Alabama. What they like to do is spread you out and run the ball and play good defense. They're not too big on throwing the ball. So we're not going to really have to worry about Eastern Kentucky throwing the ball. Now, Eastern Kentucky did lose their leading rusher, but they do get experienced running back Alonzo Booth. Last year, he had 673 yards for 14 touchdowns. Not the production of their starter, but not fresh meat for them. It's somebody that has experience. Now, their go-to receiver is wide receiver Keon Dixon. Last year, he had 34 receptions for 497 yards and 1 touchdown. That's the go-to receiver. So that reiterates this team is not keen on passing the ball. They also have a newer offensive line, but an even newer defensive line. So offensive line has had a little bit of experience together, but defensive line, they're still trying to figure things out. So it'll be some good practice for our offensive line, but I don't expect Eastern Kentucky to get any pressure on Jarret Doege. I will say this, they do have a kicking threat. Field goal kicker Alexander Wozniak. He is a transfer from South Carolina, and this dude can be accurate from 50 yards out. So we do need to be aware of that. But as long as we're scoring touchdowns, it won't matter. And I think we will score touchdowns. I think the running game will get off to a good start right off the bat because of their inexperienced defensive line. Our offensive line did have issues last year, but with another year of experience, and we still have Letty Brown and Alec Sinkfield, I think this will get them confidence. I think this is a very good game for West Virginia to start the season off. Last year, that's a rough start to go against a powerhouse FCS when you're breaking in a lot of new parts. Our defensive line will dominate their offensive line. We're going to get a lot of sacks. I'm going to say the Steels brothers will combine for at least 4 sacks. At least 4 sacks, okay? Remember that. They're going to combine for at least 4 sacks. And I think our secondary, depending on how much Eastern Kentucky decides to throw the ball, our secondary could get a couple of interceptions, and that would help their confidence as well. I'm not worried about the safeties. It's really the linebackers and cornerbacks. If I had to list concerns on the defensive side, I would say 1 linebackers, 2 cornerbacks. I'm not too concerned about our cornerbacks, but definitely more so than our safeties. I trust our safeties much more. But anyways, so final analysis, I think anything short of a 3-touchdown blowout is just too close in this situation. We have bigger athletes. We have we have a more experienced offensive line, and we have a more experienced defensive line. And that defensive line is going to eat up that quarterback. And we're going to get stops in the backfield because, like I said before, Eastern Kentucky likes to run the ball more. So we're going to get a lot of tackles for a loss, and we're going to get 4 sacks, I'm going to say it. Now, if they just decide to run the ball the entire game, then of course, we're not going to get any sacks. We'll get more tackles for loss. So that number depends on how much Eastern Kentucky throws the ball. If they get, 40 or so plays more of passing, I think that's how we can get sacks. I think we could average 1 sack per 10 passing games. That's how I see it. So there you go. My final score prediction will be West Virginia 45, Eastern Kentucky, we'll say 13. I'll give them 1 touchdown. 45-13, West Virginia blows them out. We're not going to be sweating this one out. The beginning of the game, you're going to be a little anxious because things are getting, everybody's still getting used to game speed. So relax. That first quarter might be a little, we want to get off, scoring 20 points in a row. And that might not happen in the first quarter. So have patience. The second half, we will really explode on Eastern Kentucky. Get our legs underneath us. Final score, 45-13. No concerns here. Like I said, inexperienced offensive line and defensive line. We will control the line of scrimmage. Jarret Doege's confidence will be through the roof. And I think Doege will have, I'm going to say, at least 3 touchdown passes. And we should have at least 1 rushing touchdown as well. So there you go. Final prediction, West Virginia 45, Eastern Kentucky 13. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you on my next video.